Welcome to Real Flix Reviews, like a book club for people hate reading. This month we're doing Pick Anything, so we decided to do the movie Dune, made in 1984. We have movie news, and this week we have Jonathan Charney, James Stevens, Ryan Preston.
And the old guy's here.
So, I'm sorry that I was sick last week, and I missed the show. But who picked this movie?
I did.
Take a guess.
Jonathan. Who else?
John. John.
Hey, it's David Lynch, and I thought you loved David Lynch. So I
Can
picked
we
a David
lynch
Lynch
him?
movie.
Let's lynch him.
I mean, this is the guy responsible for
man.
Lost Highway, after all.
Yeah, the worst movie ever made.
Lost
Lost Highway.
But this might take the cake.
That's what I was
Yeah.
gonna say. I'm not sure
I
which
don't
one's
know.
worse.
Don't forget that most Lost Highway is just a picture of a stripe on a blacktop street. You know, just cruising.
Yeah, this movie
Well,
might be the most incomprehensible piece of shit.
Well, before
So
we...
you've never seen it before.
But wait. Before we
Okay.
get into it, at
All
least
right.
let's describe the audience. Then I'm going to have to give some caveats to explain the movie just a little bit.
I'll read
Okay, I want to rebuttal a couple things of Ryan before we do that. Go ahead, John. Give your description.
A duke's son leads desert warriors against the Galactic Empire and his father's evil nemesis when they assassinate his father and free their desert world from the Emperor's rule, which is about the last quarter of the movie. And we'll...
Oh, it's a lot of lead up, buddy.
Yeah, well, I want to explain...
hold on.
I want to explain...
Oh,
the
go.
movie
Let's
first.
go for it.
I have one comment back to Ryan
Okay.
Okay.
of that this is not the most incomprehensible piece of shit that you have ever seen. For the audience out there,
it's-
go watch X the movie without watching the anime first.
Yes, he's right.
Okay. That's just what I want to put out there first.
And it is, well, he's talking about X the movie versus X the movie, which is also a series. And so there's a couple of ways to actually watch this movie. One is this is based on Frank Herbert's Dune.
Read the book.
And if you read the book,
Find the
everything
right
makes
version.
sense. I've watched this 2 or 3 times before I understood the whole movie. And there's also like 3 or 4 cuts on this movie because, believe it or not, this is the one David Lynch film, oddly enough, he doesn't want any part of, which you'd think he wouldn't want a Eraserhead, Mulholland's Drive,
No, there's
Lost
a lot of
Highway.
stuff that he shouldn't have anything to do with.
But besides, you know, my opinion on his directing style, this movie was...
Don't worry, folks. That's just a
hell was that?
alarm system going on.
It's the space aliens.
What the hell? Besides that, this movie was panned when it first came out in the 80s. And it's semi-cult classic, depending on who you talk to. So whoever
Yeah,
wants
it
to
looks
go...
like a Picasso.
I
Go.
think Ryan wants to go. He's like chomping at the bit.
Okay, Ryan, go before we lose you again.
Man, this is the
I knew it.
third time I've tried to watch this movie.
Third time.
And I say try because I can't get more than about 45 minutes. That's my record.
That's not even a quarter of the way through.
Not even
That's
an
my
eighth.
point exactly. Is I get almost sick to my stomach and angry at what I'm seeing and what I'm supposed to watch. Basically,
he
every
likes
time
tentacle
I get the
porn.
sting, I want to kill myself.
You didn't like Sting? What about Patrick Stewart? You had it like
You
Patrick
know,
Patrick
this is
Stewart.
not Sting's worst role.
About this
What's his worst role? The
Everything
police?
about it was pretentious as shit. Like I'm supposed to give a shit about anything that's going on with all of the scenery and everything. None of it was tied to a story. It was all just this arbitrary, like blue and gold, and everything was gaudy and huge and it's completely insane.
Well,
It's
here-
like if somebody made
Welcome to
Element and took
1984.
really
Well, here is
people
here
saying
is the
that.
sole
They
reason
didn't
why
watch the
this
movie.
movie got panned was the book. Besides being a fairly long book, I think it's like 600 pages. I wouldn't quote me on that or more.
I can't imagine it being
But-
more than anything but exposition.
Well, what do you think, Dan?
No, the book actually,
It's really good though.
it's considerably better than the movie. The movie did not do the book justice.
See,
But if you got to be a true sci-fi nut job to even read the book first of all, because it's pretty bizarre in its own right.
It's a little dry too.
Yeah, but it makes it easier to watch the movie.
Great way to put it.
See, the problem is this should have been 2 movies, because if you did 2 movies, you could actually explain what happens, because the first part of the movie, the first half, is 3/4 of the movie to explain what happens in the last quarter of it.
Well, the amazing part is if you look at the stars, the actors that are in this movie.
By the way, that's a great pause.
That's a good one for you, Ryan. If you look at the stars in this film, you kind of go, well, I mean, Jose Ferrer, Linda Hunt.
Well, there's Brad Dourif, who was in one of the Aliens 4 Resurrection, was also played Wormtongue, Lord of the Rings.
There's just a ton of really well-known actors.
Well, hold on.
Look at Dean Stockwell. Look what he went on and did.
Quantum Leap.
First things first, Sting's worst role was The Bride. It was a Frankenstein film. Moving along, though, back to this thing is,
It's sad that there's more than one Sting role to choose from.
I know.
That is sad.
Anyway.
At least it wasn't Bono.
Surprisingly, I've watched this film, I think about 3 or 4 times. And I've made all the way through, unlike Ryan. And I was thinking about it as I was finishing this film up, watching the last quarter, is the problem with this film isn't so much the writing, isn't so much the incoherent, I guess you would say plot, because for people coming in outside of the book or haven't watched it multiple times,
wouldn't have a clue.
They got no idea what's going on.
Right.
And I gotta say, I think it was made too early. I think 84 was a bad idea to do it because it was at the start of graphics. And hold on, let me finish.
Special effects.
The special effects.
No, that you can't give them that kind of a pass.
I'm not giving them a pass.
Star Wars movies had come out previous to this, and they were about to do Jedi. I mean, we had examples of sort of what Cutting Edge was doing, and somebody dropped $40 million on this piece of shit, and it looked like it all went to gold sets
and
weird costumes and haircuts.
And I was getting to that, Ryan. I was getting to that.
I love it. Ryan, go!
I wasn't giving them a pass, jack off.
You were about to say, because time is the beginning of the crap.
Well.
No, fuck that. George Lucas nailed.
Anyway,
I'll
moving on.
I'll take George Lucas over
So hold on. Let me finish my damn point.
Can I make
Get it out!
Can I make one comment real quick? Tron 1982 came out 2 years before this, and at that time, that was the most high-tech graphics ever made to that point. So much so, it wasn't allowed to be in any award show because they thought it was cheating.
That's actually where I was coming back to. Is they bit off more than they can chew with this film.
Oh, yeah, a lot more.
With their crew, with the staff and the people.
And that's what I was going to come to. They try to make an epic with special effects, and you couldn't really do it at that time. Now, let me get back to what Ryan was saying. Hold on. Shut your hole, boy.
I might have to mute one of you two. So
Wasn't there a TV series?
They took on way too much, and they try to throw in all these special effects that, like Ryan said, just look like crap.
They couldn't pull them off.
They couldn't do it.
Personally, I think all the actual physical effects look good. The bigger, like the CGI stuff looks bad. The blue screen when they're riding the worm looks bad.
Oh, it's worse than bad.
It's like
but it's also
the little tracer bullets that are going out.
Yeah,
but looking bad.
But it's also 1984. I think the worst thing though, honestly, is the editing. Because they throw you at it real fast, and they don't explain anything. And I actually think that's the biggest problem right there, is they don't tell you anything. Like, if this was 2 movies...
That's where what I was going to come to. Is they could have broken up into 2 or 3.
I don't know.
Well, no, look what Peter Jackson did. I think what this was is
you're gonna compare Peter Jackson.
Wait, hold on.
Why don't you go with Michael Bay?
Wait, hold on. Hold on. There's a reason. There's a reason I'm saying this, because for one, Peter Jackson was really one of the first directors that it was that came out that was able to do what he did. He made, like, for The Hobbit was 3 movies. Lord of the Rings was 3 movies. The reason I said it is in 1984, I don't think that would have been allowed. So they had to cram a whole book into the 2 hours, which I think was the biggest
this goes
weakness
back
in it.
to the thing: if you can't do something well, don't do it at all.
You know,
That's really what I come back to.
However, unfortunately, there are many times you don't know that you can't do it until you've tried to do it and you didn't do it, and you
That's
went,
a good
okay,
point. Maybe
all right,
that's why
so,
Mr. Lynch thinks that he doesn't want to have anything to do with this movie, but he did it, and it's like
he failed. You know what? Maybe as a director, besides the fact that you really got to be into this. Okay, let me start over. One, if I hadn't read the book and understood the plot and everything, I don't think the movie would have made any sense to me.
No.
But since I can't go back and undo that, that's what helped me get through this movie. 2, maybe David Lynch realized that he was not the best director for this particular movie. And I can't argue with that argument. So if he's out there saying he doesn't want to have his name tied with this, I would agree with you, David.
So
I gotta see the
actually
best.
read a little bit about that. Honestly, if you give me 1 second, let me switch over. I actually read a little bit about the reason why was because it was the financiers. It was people actually harassing him that he wasn't able to do what he really wanted. Because this is David Lynch. He's famous for making very art house, very non-mainstream movies.
Crap.
So that was the one thing I've heard.
Sorry.
But I still think the biggest problem was it wasn't the technology used to film it or the effects. The problem was the editing, because you have a very complex story, and they throw you at it right away, and they never really give time to explain it. One of the reasons I think they have the internal monologue was to help you kind of explain.
Well,
things.
I actually enjoyed the internal monologue. I thought
I've
the
always
internal
have.
monologue actually did a lot for the film.
I agree.
I thought that it was something that I wish they did more often with certain things, because there's a lot of books and things that they're...
Hello, Ryan. Is that you?
Yeah, I'm giving up.
Yeah, do it by phone.
So what were you saying, James?
So I was back to the fact that I actually enjoyed the inner monologue. I actually wish they did a little bit more, especially now with the Game of Thrones being on. You actually... There's a lot that goes on in their thoughts that, the actors are trying to portray with looks back and forth that you don't know what the hell's going on.
Right.
They're just giving these people dirty looks, and I'm supposed to know that this guy wants to kill this person. What?
Yeah.
So I actually enjoyed the inner monologue. I thought it could have been done a little bit better, but, got to toss that out the window. The worst thing this is about the only good thing I can say about the graphics. Is the scene where he goes up and kind of jumps on the worm.
Yeah.
And shoves a little thing in there, rips that open.
Yeah.
That was like the most well done graphics in the entire movie, and that was pretty poorly done as well. So
at the cost of $33 million.
Exactly. So these two rectangle things with shields clashing against each other was really gay. That was horrible.
But that was top of line for 1984.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, that was good.
It wasn't.
That was all CGI. That was one of the first to do what they did. But
it still looked worse than what people had done previous with analog.
And you said it yourself.
So you can't do it.
Yeah, you said it yourself, Jonathan. You talked about Tron.
Well, yes. But there's a difference. One is that I don't think from everything I've ever watched from that. Well, yes, I can actually. It's my show.
No, I don't care if it's your show. You can't have it both ways.
I actually thought that was for what they were trying to do is pretty good.
Really?
Yeah.
Go look and watch Tron again, and then watch this film back to back. With Laura.
I've watched actually both quite a lot. And I also want to go back to comparing.
I never want to see this movie again.
I also want to go back to comparing Lord of the Ring, Peter Jackson to this. Like for example,
welcome to the conversation, Ryan.
Well, I'm going to say this. Tolkien's son, Christopher Tolkien, hates Peter Jackson. Actually wishes that the movies were never made because how poor they are. And this is coming from the son of the writer.
What the hell does his son know?
I can tell you that he's going to be pretty close to it. You know what I mean? And then any deviance from it whatsoever he's going to be pretty vitriolic about. But it's a movie adaptation, and certain things have to be done just for the sake of movie storytelling. This movie tried to be a book, and it suffered from so much exposition that we were lost every time a new scene came on. Obviously, I wasn't aware that I had to read the book before I watched the movie.
I would, and I
watched this at
We'll
12,
warn you
I
next
fell
time.
asleep.
and the reason why I brought up Peter Jackson and the Lord of the Rings is because, far as Lord of the Rings go, they're actually pretty close. There are major differences that aren't super important to the story.
Wait a minute.
This one, far as Dune.
I swear my monitor just...
Well, no. What do you want to talk about? That's what I was saying. Like, Peter Jackson did a really good job, even though Tolkien's son wished his dad never sold the rights.
Now hold on, you don't really want to watch Game of Thrones because it's too much like Lord of the Rings.
No,
But you're comparing this one to Lord of the Rings and saying they're similar?
No,
I'm
I'm
confused.
trying to. What I'm trying to do is actually compare, having the ability in these modern times to expand the storyline. The first Lord of the Rings movie was pretty much explaining what happens in the second and third movie. If this one was 2 movies, if they could have done it, I think it would have been a little bit better because it would have
Okay,
given
but
them a little more
I
leeway.
I think you're right, and I think where they lost it though was the execution of the medium of film. The film is this extra sense that you have, this extra character that gets to tell its own story by what you're visually seeing as an audience member. And what we were seeing was like an artist like vomiting on the screen, and then everything was being explained to us and told to us through shitty dialogue and inner monologue, which is a hack move, by the way.
Hey,
Which
and
James actually
exposition from
liked
some
the inner
floating
dialogue.
head.
no, I was gonna say, you're dishing on like one of my favorite lines was delivered by Patrick Stewart. Behold, as a wild ass in the desert, go I forth to my work. That is a fantastic line. That's about the only good thing in the movie.
And I actually
that's
think
word
it's
for word in the book.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I love that.
Patrick Stewart, the only guy whose career survived this movie.
Well, that's
Although
actually
that's not true.
that's technically not true.
There are-
Yeah, I know. It just seemed like it because what you got Jurgen Finch.
Oh, Dean Stockwell, dude.
There's Kyle
Well, Dean
McLaughlin,
Stockwell, I mean,
David,
like, Quantum Leap, what else
Linda
was there?
Hunt.
This guy right here.
Well, we got to stop talking
Max
over each
von
other. So, like, this is
Sydow?
coming to the end of this part
Okay,
of the
now
review,
hold on.
and since I'm pretty sure I can guess what everybody's going to give it, we're going to go straight to Ryan, as far as what his rating is. This. And,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, what's the lowest possible rating I could give this unwatchable
0.5.
nightmare of a movie?
0.5.
0.5 it is. Nightmare. Ugh.
James.
Ryan, I gotta outbid you. 0.2.
That doesn't work.
See, I asked what
You
the
can't
lowest I
do
could
that.
You
give.
can't go lower
I'm
than
making
0.5.
it up.
Ah, sorry.
Jeez. And I really don't want to do that to it, but I can't go any higher. I mean,
Must be a 0.5.
It's got to be a
For James,
0.5.
yeah.
I feel bad for the good rating I gave that shitty movie Ryan did with worm porn. So Rob.
Yeah, Super is a masterpiece compared to this.
No,
I would
Super's an
hold on.
abortion. It's worse than this movie, in my
I
opinion.
would rather watch Super twice than watch this movie once again.
So,
Rob.
It'd take as long.
I've seen this movie, unfortunately, 3 times, and I'm questioning my sanity. Why in the world I ever did that?
Read the book.
I did read the book, and the book is okay. The movie sucks ass. And so, as far as I'm concerned, I'm with you, boys. It's a 0.5 for me.
Well,
That's great. You know what? That's why I stopped watching it. I realized at minute
Didn't even
45
finish
that
it.
I have plenty to say when we do this show. I don't need to subject.
Well,
myself
unfortunately,
to
we're
that.
coming to the end of this. I'm giving it a 3. I'll give it a 3 to 5 because I
What?
actually like this movie, and unlike these guys, I like sci-fi. So right now,
Oh,
we're gonna
don't go
switch
there.
over to the House of Cards.
Don't go there.
And so with House of Cards, we're gonna go to James. We did episode 8.
Yes, we did this time. episode, I gotta disagree with you, Rob.
Oh, do ya?
On your thing last time is, I don't see this episode as an episode about Kevin Spacey's character. I see this one as an explanation of Senator Paul's character. I think this one is a character study of him
Congressman Paul.
and how he. Yes, you're right. I apologize. How he interacts with actually his district. I think that's what I got out of this one.
See,
And Kevin Spacey's side, hold on. Kevin Spacey's side of the story was just a little bit to keep his story flowing.
See, I would say James is right, but here's the reason I say, for one, it's a story about how the senator is moving forward. It's a forward-looking part of the episode. Kevin Spacey's episode is a backward-going episode, looking how he became who he was.
Well,
Was kind of how I viewed it.
It was kind of a multi-part. I agree with what you're saying, Jonathan. I think it had this episode, this chapter had multiple parts to it, and I think it showed some strategies and things on Kevin Spacey's part that now make sense a little bit more as we go on. It explained, his start to where he's at a little bit better. So that's why I thought that part was there. And you are right. It was more about the other guy and his run for governor.
Well, the forward part, because I actually think this was equally about both, in my opinion.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I still liked it.
You're right. I wasn't a big fan of all the, drunken library stuff, antics. That was... I could have gone without that, but
See, I liked that
Well,
part.
I think you probably have to go to an Ivy League type school or something like that to understand that mentality. I mean, I guess I can understand it, but I didn't go to Ivy League
Well, I
college.
really liked the harmonies and the singing and the whole bit. It did make sense because it was a military academy to me, but I actually really enjoyed the kind of, hey, I haven't seen my friends in 30 years and I've killed people. And
Yeah, I understand that part. It was just
women,
too much
villages.
of the school itself, I think.
yeah, I think that's kind of
Maybe that's it.
where
I
was
don't
at.
know.
But I
This
enjoyed
is
the
one
thing
of my favorite episodes.
It's a good
actually.
one. I agree.
of the Congressman Paul going out to his district, getting a little bit of a scuffle thing, and actually putting it down and putting himself on the line for his district. I thought that was really commendable, and I wish more congressmen did that.
So with that, unfortunately, we're coming towards the end of talk about House of Cards. We're going to do episode 9 or chapter 9 or whatever it is next week. And so just with that, just to let you know, we do have a Facebook page. Do you love us, hate us? How about pause for the cause and give us money? And I've got probably the worst news ever.
Woohoo!
Bummer.
They're going to make another Indiana Jones movie.
I already knew that.
Yeah, I knew that
Yeah,
too.
well,
But
I
this
mean,
one was loosely thrown out in an interview, it looks like, with Vanity Fair. And the House of Mouse actually owns the rights since they bought Lucasfilm.
House
So
of Mouse
potentially,
owns the world.
so
pretty
potentially you could see Indiana Jones for the next 20 years, every 2 years, if they wanted to. And they will.
Now who do they have Harrison Ford on team with this one, and do they have the Sheila LaBeouf?
Yeah.
See, the only thing it says in the article that I read, it says bone to fans of another Harrison Ford vehicle. So possibly the only issue is how.
Don't let him drive.
See, that's the problem.
Fly.
Is it that's
Either
him
one,
fly.
I don't care.
the main problem is he gonna be like the professor behind the desk in Shia LaBeouf or LaBeouf or however you spell his name.
LaBeouf.
He who must not act.
Did you see the Star Wars trailer?
Yes, I doubt those Ryan and.
I'm trying to.
Yeah, I avoided this one.
Which, by the way,
I
we're
saw
a
the
movie
first
show
one.
who avoids trailers, apparently.
We want to
No,
be.
And-
I'm just the guy who does it just because I don't know. I like to sort of see what I'm being presented when I'm in the theater, as opposed to sort of some guy in an edit bays like wet dream of what it's like supposed to look like in this giant explosion in 30 seconds.
Don't you wish you had watched the trailer for Dune?
And then
Well, see, that's the thing is I read the synopsis and I'm like, oh, okay, this could be interesting. Oh man.
And so in
help myself,
and
sorry.
another news as far as why are they remaking this movie, we have a person for the new Magnificent Seven. It's I'm really gonna butcher this name. It's Ba Young Hun. He was in the G.I. Joe movies. I think he played Storm Shadow, if I remember correctly. He was also in Terminator Genesis as a T-1000.
That's right.
He says he's playing the role of Billy Rocks. Is that Yul Brynner? It's been a long time since I've seen that movie.
I don't know.
And the next one is there's going to be a new John Wick movie, which I actually liked the movie. I don't know if any of you actually saw it.
Actually, I didn't. I meant to go
What
back.
movie are we
and-
talking about?
I have it in my thing to watch. I haven't watched it yet.
It's the one where Keanu Reeves plays an assassin who retired, and then shenanigan happens, and then he goes around kills an entire mob.
Because we haven't seen
Spoiler.
that before.
Yeah, it sounds like a new plot.
You
I'm
haven't
telling
seen
you,
Keanu
Hollywood-
Reeves do it
Oh,
recently.
yeah, all right. So that's Hollywood again. Here we
haven't
go
seen-
again.
You haven't seen Keanu Reeves do that, period. I mean,
I don't know, he killed a crap ton of people in Matrix.
that's before and after the
By the
rave
way,
scenes.
Avengers was really good.
The new one, Age of Ultron?
Went and saw it. We did the whole thing, IMAX 3D.
Okay.
Had a very entertaining time.
All right.
Wasted the $20 for the the fancy glasses.
Hey, it was fun. I enjoyed it.
You know, he had fun.
I had fun. What
That's
more
what
do you
we're
want
doing,
out of
right?
a movie? Isn't that what a movie's supposed to be about?
True. And another one. There's two more is Stephen Amell as Casey Jones, the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2. So apparently Casey Jones is actually going to be in the next one.
Oh, okay.
Weird.
What?
I liked Casey Jones' character, so
Did you guys? Any of you guys see the new Ninja Turtles movie?
See,
I did.
do. I still have problems with the new Ninja Turtles. Like, why do you have to be a ninja when you're like 11 feet tall?
I don't.
and full of muscles.
Ask Shaq.
They have a hard shell.
And the next one is one that could be interesting. Is Starship Troopers could get a reboot as a TV show.
Oh my God!
What?
That's
Really?
yep. And this is
See, my theory's still going on. Hollywood can't come up with anything new, so let's find something that was a piece of shit and make it into a TV series.
actually that movie's a cult classic, just like your
Cult
favorite movie.
classic. Piece of shit. No, all right.
Yeah, we do need a paradigm shift though to happen. You know, because this is I mean it's so in our face now. It's sad.
Well, unfortunately now, movies in the United States aren't made for the United States. They're made for pretty much everywhere else. They're going to go for big.
Yeah, the overseas markets are going to make half their money for sure.
They're going to make
On a TV
guaranteed
series?
movies. Then that's unless you're like a Tarantino who is just weird enough not to care what anybody thinks,
And I-
or
And fortunate
art
enough
house
that people
movie.
hire them.
And
No,
I kind
no,
of
see,
touched on that back with...
He makes all his own movies. I don't
Let
think
the
he's
right one in.
Nah, he's
Yeah,
got
no,
it.
I mean, Tarantino's like one of the few people sort of single-handedly keeping the art of film alive.
Well,
Yeah.
Tarantino, I don't think Tarantino's ever directed anybody else's material. Everything he's ever done, he wrote, right?
Yeah, exactly, and he's written things that other people have directed, but he's never directed anything that somebody else wrote. I mean, he's exec produced a few things, you know, a handful of things gone in and done. Obviously, the Robert Rodriguez sort of team ups, but yeah, never did somebody else's material.
Yeah.
Even his segment in Four Rooms, his half of the Grindhouse movie was all him.
So I mean, I think if you're going to do that, I think with the introduction of indie films, especially with the cheaping, the high-end film cameras being cheaper or digital film cameras, I think it's going to end up what you're going to do is you're going to get people trying to do their own movies on the cheap. And the question is whether it'll be good or bad.
Yeah, well...
Well, I mean, story really is paramount, and then I think a lot of people nowadays are kind of getting the hang of story structure and how it's used in the film medium. You know, with all of these sort of toys to play with, because you can't overuse it. You know, you just can't throw. You know, if you like garlic, you can't just make a dish full of garlic.
Jonathan does.
I probably could. And I actually have one more question. What would you guys think of a fourth, or is it fifth, Punisher movie, this time with Tom Hardy?
Sure, why not?
I like Tom Hardy, but Tom Hardy needs to say no.
Well,
Too late, isn't it?
see. Here's the problem. I actually don't think the Punisher have
He
ever
says he
been.
wants to do it.
They've never been good movies. I have
No,
the
of
first
course
one
not.
with
No, of course not.
with Dolph
Dolph's
Lundgren,
there.
and that was
But they're
was
fun.
bad. There's a second one with Thomas Jane that was
which was bad.
bad, and there's a
Bad.
third one.
Which was intentionally bad, but bad.
Yeah. And it just I actually think Marvel should give up on doing Punisher movies.
Yeah, I think Punisher's just a fail.
Well, and I mean, they're definitely obviously banking on the popularity of Tom Hardy, you know, coming off of Batman and doing his indie things, you know, just always kind of playing a badass, and then they want it to sort of coincide with the Mad Max release. So of course they're gonna start releasing that sort of stuff now.
They should have just got him to play Mad Max. It would have been easier.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
liked him as Mad Max. I like the trailers for Mad Max. It looks just as dark and weird as the old ones.
I'm looking forward to it.
You won't watch Star Wars, but you watch Mad Max.
Well,
Hey.
exactly, because I don't give that much of a shit about Mad Max. It could be good, it could be bad, but I sort of got a lot invested in Star Wars.
You poor soul. The only good ones are the original 3.
Well, of course they are, but you know, it's the idea that there's somebody out there like us who can take it seriously enough to add something meaningful to this sandbox that we've got to play in our entire lives.
No, you're right. And then with Disney, it should be
Isn't that awful?
it should be interesting. And my dad's looking at softcore porn on his tablet. What the
It's
hell?
just the pictures from Dune. If you really want to get sick, look at the movie posters for this movie.
Yeah.
And so
Just
so
watch
I'm
out for
bored,
Sting.
and with that being said, I try to get
All
this
right.
train
Oh,
wreck
my
back on the
goodness.
rails and pulling into the station.
Not going to happen.
Next week is James's pick, and so good or bad, it's his turn. So you're up.
You know, I'm going a little old school. This one's been sitting in my list for a long time. I'm doing a team-up of director Milos Forman and starring Jack Nicholson in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Hells to the yeah.
And so I gave the movie Dune,
So 2 Jack
1984,
Nicholson
a
movies.
3 out of 5. James, Ryan, and Rob both gave it 0.5 out of 5, even though I think mine was the right one.
So 3 of us together would be 1.5.
Hey, look, the old guy can add.
Decimals.
Next week's movie is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. We're doing chapter 8
Chapter
of
9.
House of
Nine.
Chapter 9.
Number
Chapter
9.
9 of House and Cards, or House of Cards. And as always, thank you for watching.
Another one in the can.
Thank you.